What's up, guys? How y'all feeling? Everybody good? Let's get into the show. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. And I am glad that you are all here. Thank you all for the support. And hopefully, to all those that I have debates with, I guess, in the comment section, or, my interest is not in making anybody, wrong, or I'm right, or, I'm on the side of people becoming awake and aware. That's all I'm on the side of. So, and sometimes we disagree on what constitutes being awake or aware, and that's all right. It's a process, right? Anyways, welcome. We are live on Rockfin. We got Urban Hermit on Rockfin. Please join me on Rockfin, where really cool things are happening. And also, if you tip me on Rockfin, I don't see the tip thing. I guess it's there. If you tip me on Rockfin, your tip ends up turning into cryptocurrency, which I receive, which I really like, because the Rockfin cryptocurrency is going up. So, I super appreciate the tips on Rockfin right now. So thank you guys. But yeah, a tip on Rockfin is kind of like a super chat on YouTube. But greetings, y'all. 40 watching on YouTube, 16 likes. Please like the video. Everybody like the video. Rick Dworsky says, most of us want to try to survive. Most of us, yeah. Nazmanab says, I am woke and tired. Sure. Boppy Davis says, Rockfin on. Now I'm going for the unvarnished look today. No bear cave today. I'm just going for the. But here's my little subliminal logo. Yes, I know Bitcoin uses I know. But so does this computer that I'm running right now. So does the computer or the phone that you're running to watch this show. I know. All money and all exchange. Actually, there's a monetary value on carbon, right? So, I forget what the equation is, but who was it that told me? I think it was. I don't know if it was Wendy DeLeese or somebody else said that there is put a monetary price on, emitting a certain amount of carbon. All exchanges of money have carbon tied to them right now because of the system we live in. So I'm not saying it's okay, and I'm excusing it. I'm just saying it is what it is. So, Bitcoin hit $20,000. Yeah, says Rich Diana. Don't get it. Okay. I don't know. I saw somebody that predicted that Bitcoin could go to $300,000 for one coin. Imagine that. Buy the dips, exactly. Boulder up lamppost. But it's just another revenue stream for me. That's all it is, right? So, for the time being, I live in this system. I live on this planet. I don't, I'm not rich by any means. I'm not, cashing in. I'm not. I don't have a big old bankroll. I don't have a huge bank account. For the most part, I'm just trying to pay my bills. So That's all I'm talking about. I'm talking about the amount of money that just might pay my bills. Loey Abbott says polluting Bitcoin mining is hot here in the Netherlands because of cheap electricity. Yeah, I know it's extremely uh, it's energy non-efficient. So I understand all that. But some cryptos don't mine. Bitcoin involves mining. Some cryptos they just issue the coins, so it's not the whole mining thing isn't there. They're just like here's some coins. So Irk1 says roughly every $1 spent equals a coffee cup's worth of oil burnt. Right. Yeah, somebody on the channel just a few days ago, or not days ago, but it was a few weeks ago, gave me like the monetary equation for like, I forget what the volume of emissions were. A carbon ton of emissions, or I forget what it was, but it was like $1.82. If for every $1.82 that you spend, you emit a certain amount of carbon. So, Judy Truitt, it's an imaginary coin. Guess I'm too old to grok it fully. You know, money is imaginary. It's just a construct. So, if you can understand that a dollar, you know, the value of a dollar or a peso or whatever it is that you're using, or a rupee, the value is just completely arbitrary and made up. It's just something that humans agree upon, that this thing means something, this piece of paper means money. Totally arbitrary and a complete construct. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just, you know, you make up a coin, you say it has a certain value, then you put it on the market and it goes up and down, and, you know, it's just a construct. Interglacial Optimist, you're right. Bitcoin servers are melting the Arctic. So are internet servers, computer servers, storage servers, iCloud servers. All of them are melting the Arctic. We're all culpable, not just Bitcoin users. I mean, so they, you know, it is bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's good on any level. It's bad. It's pretty horrific. But you know, we also use computers for pretty much everything else we do, and that all of that melts the Arctic. So I don't know. I don't know. Oh, thanks for the question, Gene. Gene says, Kevin, I don't know if you've had time to think about it, but sometimes I'd love to hear your opinion on what Matt Stoller was saying on Katie Halper's show. Well, I kind of referenced it a little bit yesterday. And I listened to that interview, not the entire thing, but I listened to bits and parts of it, mostly the parts where Jimmy Dore was like cursing Matt Stoller out. And I understand, you know, Matt Stoller is trying to give the very level-headed, like, well, it means something, we're doing something. These progressives in Congress, it means, you know, that something is happening, or, you know, we're moving in the right direction, and we're going to get on some committees and blah blah blah. But I think he was in favor of the incremental change side of it, and Jimmy Dore was like, "F that incremental change. Let's force something to happen." I'm actually on Jimmy Dore's side. You know, surprise, surprise. And we went round and round in the comment sections a little bit, and even in the chats yesterday about Jimmy Dore. But I'm just on Jimmy Dore's side. You know, when if not now, and that's exactly what AOC ran on, right? She had, you know, commercials. Her political campaign commercials were like, if not when, you know, if not now, when, right? We have to force it. We have to force the issue. We have to use our power. We have to pressure those in power. Blah, blah, blah. And Jimmy Dore's like, okay, let's get to pressuring. She's like, well, no, we can't do that. We have to save it. We have to save it for later. We have to do the right thing. That's all. And that's kind of what Matt was saying. Gritty chops. Indeed. Ron Jeremy is melting the Arctic. Or Pornhub is melting the Arctic. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into it. So I wanted to cover a few things. TCR. Yesterday we were talking about. I was showing you the graph of the Arctic that Zach Labe had put up, and I was remarking on why the graph was, had looked like it was going to go down to zero. We should have been at zero probably already, or, blue ocean event already, but we had a little bit of a reprieve over the last maybe 8 years, right? So we went way down. 2012 was the lowest ice extent on record, and 2016 I think was the lowest volume of ice. But if I'm not mistaken, anyway. So we were going straight down, and then the graph kind of went boop boop boop, and we kind of got a little reprieve. And TCR sent me a really good conversation. About why that's happening, and it features Jennifer Francis, Dr. Jennifer Francis. Yes, Kevin Shanholzer, I just saw that. Jimmy Dore just bought a $1.9 million house. Well, I mean, if you watch his channel, he's making hella money every single day. Like, he is very, very popular, which is hilarious that somebody tried to send me a video of somebody saying that he was washed up. Dude just bought a $2 million house. Somehow he's washed up. I don't think so. But whatever. I mean, he's making money. That's, he has right to do that. Thank you, Poppy, for the tip on Rockfin. I appreciate you. Super cool. Peter Zabindin says, I can't believe it. Black Bear News live on Rockfin. That was not announced a few minutes ago. I know. Well, Rockfin doesn't really. Well, maybe I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe it's my fault. So I don't know how to announce an upcoming live thing on Rockfin. I don't really know how to do that yet, and maybe I haven't figured that out. So I would like to announce it prior to the actual starting time, but here I am. Kevin Shanholzer says, this is where the cool kids hang. That's right, on Rockfin. Anyways, so TCR sent me something featuring Dr. Jennifer Francis explaining why. This is a condensed version of her explanation of why this is happening, okay? And the end kind of sums up the reality.
In this episode of Shaping the Future, we discuss the abrupt cooling of the Arctic in the late summer months that is preventing the widely anticipated further collapse of summer sea ice, whilst intensifying heat waves at lower latitudes.
The last time we broke the record for the least amount of sea ice during the summer in the Arctic was back in 2012. So, that's quite a few years ago now. And it seemed like every winter and spring we were potentially headed towards a new record. Sea ice amounts were running at record low levels for that time of year. And so we were kind of on the edges of our seats wondering, is this going to be the summer that either goes ice free or at least breaks the record again? And almost every year since then, we've seen this really curious kind of abrupt halt in the reduction of the ice or the rate of its loss. So what we noticed was that one of these large-scale wind patterns was occurring much more frequently in the last decade or so. And it was related to conditions in the Arctic that really were causing the ice to stop decreasing during late August and early September and preventing a new record from occurring. But interestingly, we also found that this pattern was also associated with an increase in frequency of heat waves in various parts of the Northern Hemisphere. But what we think is happening is that we know that the spring snow cover in high latitude land areas, so along the northern tier of Asia and in northern North America, that snow cover has been disappearing rapidly during May-June timeframe. But because of this loss of snow in the far north part of the continent, you'd run into this area where the temperatures were much warmer than normal. And so you end up with, you start kind of going down a temperature hill and then up a temperature hill and then down again. It tends to create a split in the jet stream. And when you get one of these splits in the jet stream, it tends to trap the weather patterns that are between those two branches of the jet stream and make them very persistent. And they've connected this with the occurrence of heat waves and summer flooding events and other types of extreme weather during the summer. So what we found was a pattern that looked very similar to this. And we think that it's all tied back to the loss of that spring snow cover. But to prove that, it's going to require some pretty in-depth modeling experiments. Well, I think overall, the warming of the globe because of all the extra heat trapping gases that we put into the atmosphere is going to win. I think, at some point we are going to see this ice-free Arctic probably within the next decade or two. It does appear to be another influence of global warming and climate change.
There you go. Sorry, took me a little while to get back to my microphone. Jennifer Francis explaining why we had a slowdown in the melt of the Arctic. And so she said it was because of a split in the jet stream. And the upshot, right, TCR Galaxy, the upshot is the warming is going to win. The upshot is that the global warming that we have already put into motion is going to eventually take over this slowdown, and we don't know when. Kyle Smith, she said a decade or two, and I was like, huh? I was like, so we're gonna get this reprieve for another decade? I again, I don't know what you want to call this. The optimism. I don't know if I don't think it's even optimism. I don't know if it's optimism. I think it's like this insistence on telling people that things aren't as bad as they are, or that we still have much more time, or to avoid the whole it's gonna happen in a year or two, right? Scientists are resistant to saying stuff like this. I find it a little bit alarming and frustrating. So, you have a trend in the graph. Maybe we can find this again. You have a trend in the graph that shows that we are heading down, 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 down. Where are we? Well, darn it all to heck. Oh, I think I lost it yesterday too.
In this episode of Shaping the Future.
Sorry. Problem with hotkeys is that if you're actually trying to type something, you're bound to hit them. Okay, here we go. I'm showing you the graph now. So the trend in the graph showed that we should have hit 0 by mid-decade, 2015-ish or 16. It had that graph had we gone in the median, taken the median line, bam, we would have been 0 here, but somehow we got a big old reprieve, a negative feedback, as Jennifer Francis put it. Here we are just skating along with this reprieve here, and we don't know how long this is going to last. So it's literally a matter of time before we hit 0. It's a matter of moments. And so oh, I'm sorry. Let me show you that again. I realize that I'm right in front of the graph. So here, it looks like we're going to hit, the trend would say that we're going to hit 0 in the year 2014 or 15, but we get this huge reprieve. Sorry about covering that up, guys. Anyways, she says we have another couple decades. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, some talk about the price of houses in California. Yeah, right. And a lot of you are spot on. A $2 million house, depending on the area, isn't buying a lot, right? Like where I live, it's just, it's a suburb of LA, and it's like just a regular old 2-bedroom house here goes for $500,000, right? So if you're in a Tony part of LA, just a regular old house goes for $1 or $2 million. So it's, $2 million doesn't really mean much, doesn't mean like, yeah, you're balling. Not really. It means you have a little bit of money to buy a $2 million house, but whatever. Yeah, so we have had something of a reprieve. Muzza, how you doing? Everybody say hi to Muzza. Muzza the moderator. And he's dropping links for y'all. And Jennifer Francis explains why this is happening. It's happening because we have a lack of snow and the permafrost is melting, and we have we have a lack of things that would keep the northern hemisphere, the upper parts of the northern hemisphere cold. Those things are going away, so we're getting a lot of temperature rise in that area, and that's causing a split in the jet stream. It's, weather weirding is basically causing the slowdown in the Arctic ice melt. Anyways, that was very interesting. And somebody else sent me, and I'm sorry if I can't remember who sent me this, but a bit of an article about, not an article, a video about somebody who's capping old oil wells. We have all these old oil wells all over this is in the United States alone, from the oil industry, and they release serious emissions into the air. These old abandoned wells that the companies are not forced to clean up. You drill the wells, you make a lot of money, and then you walk away and leave the well like leaking gas all over the place. So I just wanted to show you just a little bit of this. It's fairly concerning. Hopefully this works out.
The thing is just left there, and no one seems to be responsible for it.
Well, that's when the company goes away, and then that's when our plugging and reclamation program is to step in.
Hold on one second. For whatever reason, this thing isn't working. Hold on.
The thing is just left there, and no one seems to be responsible for it.
Well, that's when the company goes away, and then that's when our plugging and reclamation program is to step in. The Shelby area is interesting because that's some of the oldest production in the state. Many of those wells were drilled in the 1920s. They've passed through a number of operators over the years. perhaps the problem was years ago rather than right now. It's just grown to this level. Some have said it was 100 years to get to where we are. It's not going to clean up overnight.
So this is a man that's used to work for the oil industry and is now involved in cleaning up these wells. And it's a very slow process. He's cleaned up just a few wells. I think like 20, something like 20 wells. Why is this not working? Come on, please. And there's thousands of wells. And this woman who is in this interview says some very interesting things. I'm going to play this part of the interview.
Other places are much worse off. In Texas alone, there are roughly 750,000 unplugged.
1 second. Let me try it again.
Other places are much worse off. In Texas alone, there are roughly 750,000 unplugged wells, requiring an estimated $117 billion in work. Sue Bugh is on the board of the Northern Plains Resource Council, which has been campaigning for states and oil companies to step up.
Who's responsible for these orphaned wells?
It's pretty much the regulators, the Board of Oil and Gas here, because they're not making these companies be responsible for the cleanup. This is part of their business plan. Has to be having money put forward in a manner that is recoverable, that is commensurate with what the cost of capping and reclaiming is going to be. And at the present time, pretty much every gas and oil company, they're all in the red so far already, that they have no money for this. So, who's responsible? I can't point a finger at one single entity. It's the fact that we have let them get into this situation. Because we have been so excited about the money that we're going to get from all of this development that we kind of forgot what happens on the back end. It's like having a big party and having so much fun, and it was so exciting, and then coming up out of your bedroom the next morning and going, oh my God, how long is it going to take me to clean up this mess?
What do you think about what the Well Done Foundation is doing?
I think their concept is really good. I'm concerned about their ability to fund, because it costs at least $30,000 on average to reclaim a well. Some of them are up to $1 million. And this is for one well. And we have this huge number of wells out there. So
They're a drop in the bucket.
they're a drop in the bucket, not only financially, but they are a tiny, tiny operation.
So far this year, Well Done has capped 3 wells. Before COVID, they'd hoped to do 20. Even at that rate, it would take them 150,000 years to cap all the abandoned wells in the country.
And there you go. It would take them 150,000 years to cap all the abandoned wells in the country. Yeah, that's the amount of cleanup that needs to be done, the amount of damage that's been done, or will be done, right? Because we can't cap these wells, and this is just going to be an ongoing source of pollution on and on and on and on into the future. And who's got money to clean these wells up? Who's going to clean it up? The oil companies don't have any money. She said they're running in the red. Brent McKinney, that's right. Free markets are good and regulation bad, right? And what she said, which is, it's the party, we had this giant party, yay! And now the party's over, and there's a lot of cleanup to do. Interglacial Optimist says, I think there's a massive leaking well in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's been going on for a long time, right? Right. Each well, Gritty Chop says each well leaks 15,000 cars worth of CO2 per year in methane. Right, exactly. Each well is polluting what many, many cars would pollute every year. And even though we are wishing and hoping for the demise, the end of the oil companies, again, nobody's going to clean up their mess. Who is going to clean up their mess? Well, who, you might ask, might clean up their mess? Maybe the rich could clean up their mess. Or maybe the rich should clean up their mess. Yellow Vest News AI tweeted at me, "We need to tackle the carbon emissions of the wealthy. New report says." This is from Vice as well. We need to tackle the carbon emissions of the wealthy. So how could we cap these wells? Hold on one second. Let me make sure everything is... Well, this is hard for me to... Hold on one second, guys. I seem to have a difficult time with my buttons right now. Sorry. I don't know why. Well, only the Rockfin buttons are working and not the YouTube buttons, so... Anyways, Vice says we need to tackle the carbon emissions of the wealthy. New report says a new report from Oxfam calls on European regulators to tackle the carbon emissions of the wealthy while supporting marginalized communities. European Union climate policy has to address massive inequality in carbon emissions and do more to target the emissions of wealthy citizens, argues a new analysis from Oxfam International published Monday. And this is something we already know. Give me 1 second, guys. Just a moment. This is kind of annoying. Alrighty, we're coming back. Should be coming back. Hold on. Okay. All right, guys, we should be back. Sorry about that. My bad. Or not my bad. Actually, it was a bad of the my OBS just cleared out. Muzza, thank you so much for the super chat. Got a couple super chats from Muzza. Thanks so much. I think my keys are working again. Thanks, guys. Oh, no. Shit. Well, damn it, man. I think I blew up my Rockfin live stream. I think I blew up everything. I was trying to fix something and everything blew up. Give me a sec. Shit. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to continue on with YouTube. Sorry, guys. I blew up the Rockfin stream inadvertently, so that's the end of the Rockfin video. Yeah, y'all are still here. 74 watching, 38 likes. Please like the video. We're going to go back to this story. I apologize. Anyways, emissions of the wealthy. We need to tackle the carbon emissions of the wealthy. And many people would say, no duh. European Union climate policy has to address massive inequality in carbon emissions and do more to target the emissions of wealthy citizens, argues a new analysis from Oxfam International published Monday. The carbon emissions of low and middle income European citizens, accounting for 90% of the population, have fallen by 24% since 1990, according to the report's calculations. Meanwhile, carbon emissions have grown by 3% for the wealthiest 10% of citizens and 5% for the top 1%. The same 10% of wealthy citizens accounts for nearly 27% of the European Union's total consumption emissions, the same amount as the poorest half of the population combined. Oxfam's analysis comes as European Union leaders just yesterday agreed on a 55% decrease in greenhouse gas emissions for 2030. The new target is part of its European Green Deal, a set of policy initiatives last year ranging from better supporting electric vehicles to increasing food sustainability. The authors of the report send two clear messages to political leaders. First, that the wealthy have been effectively freeloading off the middle and working classes' reductions. You don't say. As the bloc pushes towards its goal of net zero emissions by 2050. And this is a problem I think a lot of people have. A lot of people have with plans on reducing emissions is that it's going to ultimately affect the people without more than the people that have. The have-nots and the have. I think that was what I was trying to say initially. And second, that if European policymakers want to create effective climate policy, they need to design policy interventions that will explicitly target the wealthy while bolstering marginalized communities. For a long time, climate change policy was a preserve of a technocratic elite, not just in Europe, but all over the world. Tim Gore, a climate policy researcher and one of the authors of the report, wrote in an email to Motherboard, "It was treated as a standalone issue, usually housed in environmental ministries, but that's starting to change now, and governments are learning that climate action cuts across every ministry. The Ministry of Truth. Increasingly, politicians are seeing that the best way to build the public support needed for low-carbon transformation is by showing how that agenda also benefits the poorest and marginalized," he added. Poor people will only accept deep social and economic change where they see everyone as doing their fair share. Well, they'll also accept it just because it's the right thing to do. But then they'll also wonder why it is that people, the rich people get to pollute, keep on polluting, and get to evade and avoid the regulations that everybody else is required to operate under, right? That's the problem. That's what a lot of people are bringing up, is that these schemes to lower emissions and standard caps and redesign our economies and do all these really great things are things that are again, pretty much like everything else that's been going on for the last 20, 30, 40 years, is that everything benefits the wealthy and the owner class and impacts negatively the working class. So far, it's pretty clear that everyone isn't doing their fair share. When it comes to air travel, one of the largest reasons for the wealthy's outsized carbon footprints, according to the Cambridge study cited by the report, for example. Research released in November showed that just 1% of people globally cause half of all aviation emissions. That is a wild number. That's why the European Union needs to implement policies that target the top, including ending all fossil fuel subsidies and tax exemptions for aviation and shipping fuel, Gore said, and tax luxury frequent flyer programs that essentially reward people for being rich. Well, it's difficult because the rich write the rules, the rich write the policies, the rich elect the politicians that do the bidding of the rich. That's kind of the problem that we're in. That's kind of the thing that so many people are speaking out against, that so many people are concerned about. the rich control everything. They control the people that make the rules. And so how are we going to pass these rules? How are we going to tax the rich? How are we going to make the rich do their fair share? How are we going to enact laws or policies that are going to impact the rich as much as they impact the poor, if not more? The problem is that the rich need to be impacted even more. Do you see that happening? Well, currently under the system of civility politics, these the people that are in power, you can't criticize them because they're Nancy Pelosi's. If you criticize Nancy Pelosi, that's misogynist. Oh my God. Or you're being mean. Bernie Sanders is being mean to people. His supporters are mean because they're pointing out that people are hurting and don't have Medicare for all. People really want change. They want lasting, deep, transformative change. But we can't. If you're demanding that, then you're being really mean and you're not following the rules and you're not doing things like the adults are telling you to, which is like just we're just gonna shuffle people around and shuffle some money around, and we're gonna make some laws. That are gonna make everybody feel good. We're gonna craft a lot of letters and web pages and reports and studies that find that the way forward is to have this equitable Green New Deal, and it's equitable. Everything is equitable. I was talking with a friend last night about this, all the language that they're using for everything. Oh, equitable vaccine distribution. It's all equitable. But in the end, it's not equitable. In the end, the poor die faster than the rich. In the end, the poor don't have Medicare for all. In the end, the poor are being evicted. In the end, the poor still don't have a $15 minimum wage. In the end, the poor die from exposure to COVID disproportionately. Remember Joe Biden? He was the first to figure out that black people were dying faster than white people from COVID. Because, Joe Biden figured that out, being the brainiac that he is. He was the first one to point that out. Because nobody knew that before. Nobody saw that happening before. That's actually what's happening. That's the reality that's happening. But they're going to tell you that we can't do that. We can't do this. No, we didn't rig the election in favor of Joe Biden against Bernie Sanders because, Bernie Sanders was such a threat to the power structure, to the elite, that people on news channels were calling him, a socialist, a commie, a crazy lunatic, a wild-eyed lunatic, that he would have people being executed in Central Park. That Bernie Sanders winning a primary in Nevada was tantamount to brown shirts, marching through the streets. That's the kind of language they were using to absolutely scare the pants off of people about somebody who was proposing like a 2% tax on the wealthy, right? The wealthy were so frightened. We're so absolutely frightened of losing 2%, paying more in taxes, that they were willing to rig an entire election against the one person that could have enacted these taxes against them. They're so entrenched in keeping the status quo going. But they're going to do a lot of languaging. They're going to do a lot of nice wording. Oh, use all the nice words. And then they'll put women and people of color into office to do their bidding, and you can't say anything about what these women and people of color are doing because misogyny and racism. That's the plan. That's what they're doing. And then there's just people running around, echoing the same wording all over the place. Oh my God. But yes, exactly, that we need to curb the emissions of the wealthy. But do you think that's going to happen anytime soon? Osama number 5, thank you for the super chat. I won't be here tomorrow due to doctor appointment. Thanks, man. So the super chat is dedicated to Nazbanabs. Take care, buddy. Looking forward to your return. Super chat on behalf of Nazbanabs. Thanks, Osama. Nazbanabs. Realize says Biden sounds just like Trump. Exactly. Right. So until we actually talk about, taking power and wealth away from those who are wealthy and powerful, and how we're going to do that, probably not going to be able to do that with our votes. We're probably not going to be, we're going to have to get real vocal, real angry, real mad. We're going to have to really threaten the people in power. We're going to have to make them feel really scared, and that's going to sound mean to all the people who are worried about people being mean. Oh, do you understand what I'm saying? That like the idea of like humanitarianism and everybody being civil and nice. Oh, we're going into this new world where everything is nice and all the people are just really kind and just, we're only focusing on the good, guys. We're just getting our chakras aligned. I mean, nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with getting your chakras aligned and being in touch with your spirituality. But I'm just saying, everything's got to be real nice. And we're just thinking positive thoughts, and we're all going to meditate on the good things. And that's going to, we're going to not block our abundance, just all these negative thoughts are blocking your abundance, this lack thinking. All of this insistence that humans just be, really nice to each other, really kind, and just say the kind words, it's being turned around and used against you. Right? That whole thing about humans wanting to be nice and kind and say the good things and do the good things and be, not and be, well, I don't know, for lack of a better word, politically correct. Right? You don't want to be abusive. You're not trying not to be. Nobody wants to be abusive. Nobody wants to be racist. Nobody wants to be exclusionary, right? Everybody you want to be inclusive. We all want that. Everybody wants that. But they, the powers that be, are using this language of inclusivity, right? And political correctness. They're turning it around on you and saying, well, you can't be mean to us. You can't ask us for things. You can't demand things. You can't be mean. Or we'll call you sexist and racist. Oh, Katie Halper has a really good tweet about this. A great tweet about this. She says, I'm going to preface everything I say about Henry Kissinger. Remember, famous war criminal, disgusting war criminal, Henry Kissinger. Evil ghoul, Henry Kissinger. Remember who he really is. Katie Halper says she's going to preface everything I say about Henry Kissinger with, there was a time when Jews weren't allowed to hold the offices he did, and as a Jewish person, I'm inspired by that. Hashtag woke washing. Right? So they're using the language of wokeness, of identity politics, of identity awareness, of anti-racism. They're using all that language. They're turning it around and using it against people who are critiquing the power structure. Right? Oh, you don't like Henry Kissinger. What are you, anti-Semitic? Right? That's how it works. So the thing to do is, the only way we're going to make these changes or get these things done is we're going to have to be super mean. and say things that people really don't want to hear and really don't like to hear. It's going to be very offensive. That's why when somebody is saying to me, oh, you're on Jimmy Dore's side and he's saying bad things about AOC as women of color, oh my God, and these women of color are just going to get it, they're just going to be terrorized for the next 4 years. Oh, how dare you? Sure, people, are nasty and shitty on social media. Sure, people do nasty things to people, but that doesn't mean that you can't hold people accountable or call them out for specific things. And so that language is, you're in the employ of the powerful who are trying to tell you, this is how we're going to get away with not ever being criticized. Anyways, so we're going to have to be, we're going to have to hold the powerful accountable, and we're going to have to be, it's going to sound mean, and it's going to sound, oh my God, how dare you say this stuff. It's going to sound super mean because, right, all Bernie followers were super mean. All Bernie bros were all white, and they were all male, and they were super mean, and they're all racist and sexist. And basically, none of that was true. A lot of that was completely erasing all the people of color, the women of color, all the people that supported Bernie Sanders. It was a broad, diverse coalition of people that supported Bernie Sanders. But if you get everybody to think that all of his followers are white males, which was untrue, then you can just repeat this stuff. Boulder of Lamppost, tone policing. Alhem F says, you care too much. Okay, maybe. Keith Hayes, woke, how to get people in the Democratic Party without giving them anything. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Oh my God, Biden's appointing all these, this diverse group of people to be empowered and run all these agencies. Oh my God, this is amazing. It doesn't matter that these people are former war criminals or might be, if anybody cared, might be convicted of wrongdoing or corruption for other things. It doesn't matter that these people are corrupt, slimy swamp creatures. Oh, we're really making progress now. This is so progressive. Meanwhile, they don't give you anything. Anyways, I think I'm just going off on a rant here. Violent Hippie says, kind of brilliant from a maniacal control-seeking perspective. Totally. Totally. So, so people are seeing around this idea. So you got to see around this idea that, oh my God, you're so mean. You're asking for things. Oh, you're so mean. You're demanding that people give you better. The government does better things for you. Oh my God. You're so mean that you're asking people to behave better or to not do criminal things or to, whatever. Oh my God. Duncan McCown says, we need drones flying rainbow flags. Indeed. Right. So, going back to climate change and the wealthy creating all of the, not just emissions, but the wealthy driving the destruction of the planet by resource use, right? They're the ones that create all the companies and create all the industries, and they run all the industries, and they own all the industries, and all these industries, the mining and the shipping and the flying and the doing and the building and the industrialization of the planet is all driven by these moguls, billionaires, whatever you want to call them, industrialists, venture capitalists. These people are driving the destruction of the planet, so they have to be curbed somehow. I don't know how we're going to do that. I actually don't really understand. I don't know how we're going to do that. But honestly, we're not going to do it by being nice. we're not going to be doing it by like, come on, guys, could you get it together? We're going to have to, power concedes nothing without a demand, and that the demand is never nice. The demand is always making somebody uncomfortable. Irk 1 says, and the misinformation. Right. Jacob Gordon says, not peacefully, unfortunately. Not peacefully and certainly not nice, I mean, there's a difference between peaceable or nonviolent and not being nice, right? So you don't necessarily have to be violent. But, demanding AOC and the squad and Ro Khanna and Tim Pocan, Mark Pocan, and all the other progressives of the House, demand that there's a floor vote for Medicare for all. Oh, that's not nice. It's just not realistic. It's crazy. It's crazy talk. Oh my God. Rich Gianna says, if it's too late, we have nothing to lose in the struggle. Right. Right. So I don't know when the rich are going to end their emissions. But again, I'll promote the idea that we need a straight up maximum wage. That isn't even my idea. Somebody else brought it up on the chats, and I don't remember who brought it up. Awesome idea. Maximum wage. 100%. And the tax rate for the wealthy, like 60 or 70 years ago, used to be 90%. Imagine that, a tax rate of 90% on the wealthy. I mean, they can't even take 2%. They're like, oh my God, 2%. Oh, our lives will change forever. What will we do? Imagine 90%. I think it should be 100% above whatever, $100,000. This is for the climate, guys. We're doing this for the climate. Sorry. If you can't live on $100,000, I don't know. There's something wrong with you. Boulder of lamppost, maximum net worth, indeed. Duncan McCown, Gandhi was nonviolent, but he was also highly disruptive of the status quo in British. Yes, definitely. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to change this, but it's being nice about it isn't going to do it. Being real, being real soft spoken and very like civil and polite and kind, that's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Speaking of which, I wanted to cover this just a little bit because I want to talk more in depth about this in the future. And this is the idea of the Great Reset. I know it seems to be a buzzword going around. And the funny thing is the elites or the intelligence community, whatever you want to call it, they've already started to kind of smear people who are talking about the Great Reset as right-wing, alt-right, crazy Trumpers, QAnons. Anybody who's concerned about the idea of the Great Reset is a complete wild-eyed conspiracy theory lunatic, right? But anyways, it's something, the Great Reset is something that has been proposed. Here's an article written by, supposedly the evil mastermind himself, Klaus Schwab, on the World Economic Forum. This is called Now is the Time for the Great Reset. So this is an idea that the Great Reset is a term that the elites are actually using themselves to describe what it is they want to do to capitalism or the economy post-coronavirus. And a lot of people are very concerned about what this means. A lot of people are very concerned about what it is, I'm sure many of you are already up on the conversation around the Great Reset. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I want to talk about it in future days in conjunction or connection to climate change, because climate change seems to be in the conversation of the people who are concerned about the Great Reset kind of think that climate change, the talk around a Green New Deal or climate change, enacting policies, taking into account climate change, people that talk about climate change are part of the conspiracy or support the Great Reset. Okay, and so I want to kind of dissect. Again, it's that whole thing about, people who are conspiracy theorists, a lot of people who are on the conspiracy theory side think everything's a fucking conspiracy theory, including climate change. Again, you're wrong. But everybody who thinks, that all conspiracies are false and that everybody who's on the conspiracy theory side are all wild-eyed lunatics and they're all part of QAnon and they all think the same thing. Again, that's false, right? So somewhere in the middle is truth. I want to dissect that because that's what this channel is about, is dissecting these, unintelligent silos of thought, right? You get people just in this silo of thought and they all agree and believe the same things and they're all like, oh my God. Right? Somebody was accusing me the other day on Rockfin of being like somehow in the employ or aligned with Klaus Schwab just because I was talking about climate change or talking about a reaction to climate change. So no. So I want to dissect this a little bit, but I want to tell I want to kind of just give an overview of the Great Reset by Klaus Schwab himself. So bullet points. We can emerge from the crisis a better world if we act quickly and jointly, writes Schwab. The changes we have already seen in response to COVID-19 prove that a reset of our economic and social foundations is possible. Right? We're going to retool capitalism, so it's going to be bigger and better and greater and faster and meaner and greener. That's what we're going to do because coronavirus. This is our chance, guys. And so, yeah, a lot of people are very concerned about this. I'm concerned too. I think you're right to be concerned about this if you are. But let's look at what he's trying to say a little more. COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospects is only intensifying. There is good reason to worry. A sharp economic downturn has already begun, and we could be facing the worst depression since the 1930s. While this outcome is likely, it is not unavoidable. To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country from the United States to China must participate in every industry, from oil and gas to tech, must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. Okay, so this all sounds really great. This is nice. On the surface, right? Oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense. But again, why are they? A lot of people feel that capitalism is the problem. A lot of people feel that one of the great drivers of destruction in people's lives and the destruction of the environment, global warming et al., etc., is capitalism. So they want to reset capitalism, the Great Reset. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix capitalism, guys. And we need new social contracts, right? We need equity. We need people to be treated fairly, because that was then and this is now. Like capitalism was built on exploiting people, see slavery, and exploiting the shit out of people and treating people like slaves and not paying them enough money. And the Great Reset. Oh, guys, we're gonna fix all this. We're gonna be fair now. Equity. What have we seen in literally the 8 months or 9 months or whatever it's been since coronavirus started? What we've seen is the billionaire class, the owner class, making trillions of dollars in profits. We see essential workers being treated like shit. Fired, laid off for organizing. See Chris Smalls and Amazon. We see disproportionate amount of poor and black people dying of coronavirus, right? For various reasons. Because of maybe the environment where they live is not so great. They have poor health care. They're in poor health because they don't have access to better foods, right? The whole thing. We see essential workers being treated like shit, paid like shit. Still not getting Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic. We see a pittance being paid out by the government, the ruling parties, plural, both of them. Very little money going to the people that actually need it, and all the money being transferred towards the wealthy, right? So that's what's been laid out in the last 9 months. So, this if that's what the Great Reset is going to look like, we've already seen the blueprint of what they're trying to lay down for you right now. So somehow the Great Reset is going to be so much better. There are many reasons to pursue a Great Reset, but the most urgent is COVID-19. Having already led to hundreds of thousands of deaths, the pandemic represents one of the worst public health crises in recent history, and with casualties still mounting in many parts of the world, it is far from over. Still going. They just locked everybody down across the United States, and they with no stimulus, no help, everything running out, evictions, moratoriums running out, time is running out, unemployment running out, no more stimulus checks. Oh, but Joe Biden's president. All right, great. Here it comes. Here comes the help. Maybe, I don't know. Nobody knows. This will have serious long-term consequences for economic growth, public debt, unemployment, human well-being, according to the Financial Times. Global government debt has already reached its highest level in peacetime. Moreover, unemployment is skyrocketing in many countries. In the U.S., for example, 1 in 4 workers have filed for unemployment since mid-March. 1 in 4 workers, with new weekly claims far above historic highs. So this is what's happening already, but where's the help? Where's the Great Reset? Where is it? And what's it really going to look like? A lot of people are very concerned about what this is really going to look like. In the U.S., for example, so all of this will exacerbate the climate and social crises that are already underway. Oh, hold on. The International Monetary Fund expects the world economy to shrink by 3% this year, a downgrade of 6.3 percentage points in just 4 months. Ooh, degrowth. I love it. Some countries have already used the COVID-19 crisis as an excuse to weaken environmental protections and enforcement. Right, it's already happening, already been done. And the EU, was just put out a bunch of, climate change policies that are very, 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 very short of the mark. Frustrations over social ills like rising inequality. U.S. billionaires' combined wealth has increased during the crisis. Yes, all these things are intensifying. And so all the elites are using this Build Back Better verbiage, which is also a bit of a red flag to a lot of people. He says, clearly the will to build a better society or build back better does exist. We must use it to secure the great reset that we so badly need. He says, the level of cooperation and ambition this implies is unprecedented, but is not some impossible dream. In fact, one silver lining of the pandemic is that it has shown how quickly we can make radical changes to our lifestyles. Okay. Almost instantly, the crisis forced businesses and individuals to abandon practices long claimed to be essential, from frequent air travel to working in an office. Well, that's great. Likewise, populations have overwhelmingly shown a willingness to make sacrifices for the sake of healthcare and other essential workers. And vulnerable populations, who's done that? Major corporations, have they done that? They've been willing to make sacrifices for the sake of healthcare and other essential workers in vulnerable populations. And many companies have stepped up to support their workers, customers, and local communities in a shift toward the kind of stakeholder capitalism to which they had previously paid lip service. Okie dokie. Maybe some smaller companies have done that, but on for the most part, that's a big fat no. The Great Reset agenda would have three main components. The first would steer the market toward fairer outcomes. To this end, government should improve coordination, for example, in tax, regulatory, and fiscal policy. Well, okay, sounds really great. But that's what people have been that's what progressives or populists or, the Bernie Sanders and the Jimmy Dores, et cetera, of the world, or even at one time the AOCs of the world, have been asking for changes in tax, regulatory, and fiscal policy. But more and more we're being told, oh, we can't do it. We can't do this. We can only do the bare minimum. Upgrade trade arrangements and create the conditions for a stakeholder economy. Oh yes, all the good words, all the good words. At a time of diminishing tax bases and soaring public debt, governments have a powerful incentive to pursue such action. Well, all right, so again, all the good words. They have a powerful incentive, but are they doing it? California has a Democratic supermajority government, and people are leaving this state by the droves. I can't tell you how many people I know are moving out of California because it's such a mess. So, this powerful incentive that they have to do something better hasn't really been realized. So, again, all the good words. Thanks for the pep talk there, Klaus Schwab. The second component of the Great Reset agenda would ensure that investments advance shared goals, such as equality and sustainability. All right, here the large-scale spending programs that many governments are implementing represent a major opportunity for progress. The European Commission, for one, has unveiled plans for a $750 billion recovery fund, billion euros, excuse me. The US, China, and Japan also have ambitious economic stimulus plans. Rather than using these funds as well as investments from private entities and pension funds to fill the cracks in the old system, we should use them to create a new one that is more resilient, equitable, there's that word again, and sustainable in the long run. Sustainable, there's that word again. This means, for example, building green urban infrastructure and creating incentives for industries to improve their track record on environmental, social, and governance metrics. Wow, that sounds so transformative, Klaus Schwab. Thank you. The third and final priority of the Great Reset agenda is to harness. This is the part that people are frightened about. Harness the innovations of the fourth industrial revolution, quote unquote, also known as AI and other tech developments, AI, 5G, et cetera, to support the public good, especially by addressing health and social challenges. During the COVID-19 crisis, companies, universities, and others have joined forces to develop diagnostics, therapeutics, and possible vaccines, establish testing centers, create mechanisms for tracing infections, and deliver telemedicine. Imagine what could be possible if similar concerted efforts were made in every sector. All right, so that's just kind of a bit of an overview, guys, from Klaus Schwab himself from the World Economic Forum site, talking about the Great Reset. I just wanted to give an overview because I want to talk about this a little more in depth in the coming days, and how this relates to climate change and also some of the ways in which some people are tying climate change to this great reset idea. Anyways, yes, Muzza, some countries have signed Agenda 21 with the United Nations years ago. Fun facts, right. This is all tied to Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. Some things that have people very concerned. And I don't know. I want to dissect some of the ideas that are involved in all of this Great Reset, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21. And look at the different ways. Look at the different ways that these policies are being implemented and or not implemented and or used as diversions for other things, right? Trying to read this, Osama, that you posted a link or something. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at this. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, I'll check that out. I don't know what that's about. Basil Peterson says, I went to college at Rutgers for horticulture, worked 20 years to get an off-grid farm to not use all the BS I learned. Very good. School of life is a hell of a teacher, right? Nazbanaz says, greenwash everything. Scott Andrews says, reset to extinction. I'm Sweetleaf says, I get it. Reset to what? Right. Well, and the problem is the whole idea of resetting capitalism, which was very clearly stated. We're going to reset capitalism. And we're going to actually have to degrow capitalism. Capitalism being a growth machine and reliant on growth in so many ways. So I don't know how we can do that. I'm sure they're not talking about degrowth or walking down the ladder, going down the ladder of growth on any level. Anyways, guys, this has gone fairly long, but it's all right. Thank you all for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Apologies to the Rockfin people. I cut the video off early, and that was that. And there was no way for me to restart it. But thank you, Poppy Davis, for the tip on Rockfin. I appreciate you once again, guys. I will be back tomorrow at the regular time of 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am Sweetleaf says if we just reset, we end up where we are now. We need a redo. Anyways, guys, I will catch you tomorrow. Until next time, peace.